Welcome back to the channel. My name is Prem, and in today's episode we'll be reinstalling the gearbox and engine, which we took out months ago. So a part of that process is going to be to prep both items with all the parts and auxiliaries as much as we can before they go back in. This is to make my life a bit easier later on. So if we get stuff bolted on while it's still outside, the more the better. So let's get on with it. Here's the transmission jack, and with the click of the fingers it will be ready. Here we go. Fully functioning ratchet strap. So you bung the gearbox on there, tighten it up, and you can lift it up. So you don't have to balance it on a jack with a piece of wood, which I've been doing before, and that doesn't really work. This is much safer. It frees you up. You can position gearbox where you need to be, and then you can slot your engine in. A couple of parts I was waiting on, so we've got them now. So first one was this. I think this is the anti-reverse switch. It's not like a gear selector switch where I thought it was, but mine one broke at these rivets, so it fell apart. There it is. See, it's split apart. So we have a replacement. So I've given this a clean, blown it out. It looks okay. It should be fine. It's very simple. There's only two sets of connections in there, so that's that one. Next is the it's a vacuum regulator. There's a plunger that goes inside the gearbox. Now what this does is, based on the adjustment behind this cap here, it then allows the gear shifts to either be strong, i.e. harsh, or very soft. Now this was actually leaking, so there's oil going through there when the engine obviously was pulling vacuum from the inlet manifold. Gearbox oil was going into the manifold. Therefore, that's why it was so filthy. I've gone with an original part. So there's the part number if anybody's interested. It's A126-270-9179. On eBay, these were going for £124, around about that mark. People selling second-hand ones for about £70, which I wouldn't touch full stop because they're second-hand, and a plastic part, a couple of decades old, is not going to work. It'll break. So I went to the deal. I called the dealer, and he gave me this for £65. How's that for a bargain? So genuine part, and I do recommend if anybody's taking a gearbox out, I'll put these kind of items at £65. You can't go wrong. And as you can see, there's the adjuster, and here's the T adjuster. So like a little screw goes in there, and then you can adjust it that way or the other way. And then you put this little cap on top. As you can see, that T then locks into here, and that you can adjust it from the outside. But if you need to adjust it more, you have to take this cover off, move that physically, and then put this back on again. So 65 quid, I think, bargain century. Let's get these two on the gearbox and it'll be ready for installation. So the reverse anti-stall, whatever this is, so that goes on. So you got the selector shaft, which is this. We've already placed a seal in there, so the seal's been made. That's done. So this goes on, slips over there, and you got two bolts, which then one goes in here, and then one goes in here. So tighten this. So that's now done. Now the actual selector is this one here, and it slides over this, and then you've got so this slides over the selector shaft, and then you align this little plastic bit here with that hole, so when it moves together. So that's on. So there you go, new hardware. That goes there. Another washer here, and then tighten that. There's a little groove in the shaft which you already seen. So this bolt now sits through there. It's not, see, it can't come off, so push it right back flush against that, tighten it up, and that's your sector shaft with the switch now installed. Next is the vacuum box, or the regulator. Can't remember what it's called, but it's there to regulate how harsh or soft the gear changes happen. This sits in this hole here. The only thing I need from the old one is the actual metal plunger which goes inside the gearbox. Everything else is new. It's been uprated. It's not what it was before. So give this a clean, and this goes in there gently. That slips right in. Then you've got the actual plunger shaft. And you can see, so that one, it will go around about here like that. Right, just leave that in there. Now this is retained by this clip, so it'll sit over that. Obviously that faces that way because you've got to put a vacuum hose on there. So which way is that? That's like that. So it sits like that. So if I now, let's take that out. We now feed this in gently. I've got 2 Allen key bolts. They go in, and that pretty much is gearbox ready for installation. Make sure you tighten that, and there is a cutout which you then knock. There you go. So you can knock this down with the chisel so it doesn't spin off. I've already tightened that with a gun, and I think that's not going to move. I've also put the new mount on as well, the rear mount. So that's bolted there, 2 bolts, and obviously the back mounting plate on there. Next is the donut, or gazebo. I don't know. I'll call it a donut because it looks like a donut. So that goes on next. There was instructions with this, so if it's marked, it tells you which side then faces towards the prop shaft, which would be this way, but this doesn't have any marks on it, so we can fit this either way. So you align that with the output, and then you've got your bolts which you feed through nut and bolted. So I'll do these 3 first, and then I'll put the prop shaft on because it's come out, and there's no way I'm going to put this in when it's in situ. So I'll fit this in while we're here, and then I can slide the whole thing in when the gearbox goes back in. In part 5, I promised you I would source another air valve, take the internals out, and then rebuild 1 good one from 2 bad ones. However, I've managed to source this one, and I've tested it, and it works. So you see the valve in there that closes when you put this in hot water, and then when you take it out, it opens back up. So this one is functional, and I'm not going to take it apart and change this thermal valve, which is full of wax. That's how this thing works. For a simple reason, there's not many of these parts left, and I think a restoration of this type is about saving as many parts as possible, and I'm going to save this part because it works fine. So I'm going to start fitting this. So on the actual engine, what we've done so far since last time you looked at this, so I've had the air oil cooler lines made out. So I managed to get an oil cooler with the ends. So I took those off carefully and had those crimped in to new piping, which crimped up to there. So that's all in. Both mounts are on. This mount, the bolt broke in, so I had to drill that out. So I put a heli coil in there, so it's still an M10 thread. So next thing, I'm gonna put this in its rightful place over there and start building up the vacuum lines, which then run across the top. These are all the vacuum and auxiliary air lines. So the air valve go between these two here. These two, this one and turn it around. So these two, they go on the manifold. So any gas that needs recirculating are then pushed through these two pipes, and then they filter through behind the gasket, and then they go back in through the inlet. Clever design. So also the seventh injector goes in here, cold start. So what I'm going to do with this is I have an assortment of new hardware. So I'm going to change all these because A, they're manky, and B, they're probably they'll be difficult to tie up. So I'm going to change all those, get this fitted. Here's my new L-ring gasket. So from the set, get that fitted, get all these changed, and then I'll show you while I'm putting it back on. Gaskets in there. I've smothered it both sides of the ceiling because obviously it's not new, is it? So that should take up if there's anything which is not flat. So let's reinstall this. Too much, you'll break them. Don't forget, there's not much pressure on it. Next, I'm going to put this one on. So these two go there and there. If I feed it from underneath, it'll be that way. Actually, there's a modification I'm going to do. I'm going to put a catch can on these. Actually, two catch cans. So I'll take this out. I might get a straight one. That I can feed from the top. That's not a problem. It's just getting in the way now. I didn't need an elbow there. I need a straight connection, which I'll get anyway. So that goes in there. I'll just turn these set clips around. That goes in there. So that one and this one goes in here. Oh, fit quite nicely. Next is this gubbins. So that goes in there underneath here. So I'm going to tape this hole in case something goes down there. Next we'll go for that one. It goes over here. That's at the air valve. This goes on this side of the air valve. And then just tighten up these clips. Simple. And then on the top, see those two screw holes there lining up, and then you got the seventh injector, which I'll probably actually put in now. Here's the cold start with the seventh injector, new gasket. I'm not going to change the bolts because I can't find any of these small size, so we'll keep these. Not that I'll be able to see anything once it's all built back up again. But I have put new ones in here. Makes it look nice and shiny. We are now ready to put the gearbox back in. I'm not going to lift it over the cross member and make manly noises this time. A, it's warm, and B, I don't feel like lifting too much weight. So I'm going to do what I did suggest you last time. I'm going to jack it up from this side so it doesn't hit the wall. So I'll pick it up and then we'll slide it under. Hopefully this will fit. No, it won't. So it looks like I have to put on the floor and scratch my newly painted sump. put some cardboard down, slide it in from the side, and then put the jack underneath. I think that's what we can do. Right. There you go. About there seems right. Gearbox is back on the transmission jack. I just need to pick it up now. You lift it up so I can fit that prop shaft back in. So I'm going to slowly start doing that. Once it's lined in, I'll show you again. We'll push it back into its place and put the 4 bolts in. I've temporarily put this on so nothing falls down there, but all the links, I'm not going to zinc plate because I don't want to damage the plastic bushings in here, because I can't see how to take these off. So we're leaving those on. So I painted all these, cleaned them all up, painted everything with the that galvanizing paint. So if I take a step back, there you go. I managed to figure out how this works, but yeah, there you go. It's all back in one piece now. There we go. Get the rest of the engine stand gubbins off the back. Oh, here we go. Installing the flex plate, not a flywheel, because this doesn't have a clutch. Make sure both sides are clean. Make sure that's all clean so it sets flat. Offer this up. There you go. You line this up. Yeah, got it. So put the all in by hand. So torque wrench settings are 20 to 30 pound per foot, or 30 to 41 Newton meters. Doesn't seem much, does it? It's one turning, and normally get a screwdriver against a pin like this, and then do opposites to make sure this goes down flat. Same principle as when you're tightening wheel nuts or lug nuts. Oh. Done. It's cleared. Hang on. There's got to be a way around this. If we do this, this is hitting the front. Can't get any closer than this. But if I do, this is going to go backwards at the end of the day when this goes in. It'll clear. That should clear it. We can come forward now. There we go. Oh. The transmission jack slipped. I almost lost the gearbox there to one side. I've got an old-fashioned way, piece of wood and a standard small normal trolley jack. So that is now up as much as I can. I'll show you. So there's the gearbox. Is up as high as I can be possibly pushed up. Now it's trying to align the block of the gearbox. Good news, it's in. Well, sort of. I was having difficulty lining the bells in the engine to the gearbox because because of the chain. So I've gone the old-fashioned way. I put a nut and bolt through. So that's the hole for the starter motor. So the dowel's in place. I've nut and bolted that together, so that's holding it in. And at the other side, I've done the same down there. Now, this one down here, the shiny bolt there. This one there. These are the bolts which hold the flex plate with the torque converter. So there were 6 of these. I've already put 4 in. These are the last 2. So just to show you, this then connects the engine through to the drivetrain. So once you got 2 bolts in, spinning the engine around and getting the other 4 in is not that difficult. So long as you get 2 in, there you go. So I will tighten these with a torque wrench, but there's 2. There's the other 2. And there's the final 2. So yeah. Now, once this is done, I'll put these plates back on, and then I'll start tightening the bearing bolts for the last time. And that pretty much is installation done. After 7 months, engine gearbox are finally back in their rightful place. This is good progress. At the end of the day, we are getting closer to first startup. So that will be the next video. But in this one, we've gone through the actual rebuild. Fitting is one aspect. Actually getting it ready for fitting, all the stuff that you can down the left hand side, which I've already shown you, which can be done while it's fitted in, but it takes a lot of time. A lot of things are easier done when it's out. So getting all the stuff that much as we can get done before fitting was key to actually saving time going forward. So next steps are, I'm waiting for my fuel distributor from the gentleman I've sent here for calibration. Hopefully he'll send it back very soon. I am off on holiday now, so I'll be down for a couple of weeks. So hopefully when I get back, there will be a parcel with those goodies in there. So once we receive those, we build the remaining part of the injection system, and we are pretty much ready for first start. A very loud start, because I don't have an exhaust. I've got some downpipes, new ones, but I haven't got an exhaust, so it's going to be deafening, but it's going to be great. So I'm ending part 8 here. If you've enjoyed my content so far, please like and subscribe. Yeah, I'll see you next time when we fire this up.